Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead, Yashwardhan.
Yeah, so I'm Yashvardhan. I did my undergraduate studies in electronics and telecommunications as well. And I finished that in 2020. After that, I worked for a year with a couple of different firms. And then I decided to pursue my master's. And I just completed my management information systems Master of Science from University of Illinois Chicago in December. And I'm currently working at EY as a technology consultant. Yep.
Good. Yeah. Sarthak.
Hi everyone, I'm Sarthak Shah. I did my undergraduate studies in Pune University in computer engineering, and I'm in my last semester of computer science at Arizona State University. I did my internship in Max Linear San Diego, and yeah, that's it.
Okay. Iravati.
Hi everyone. I did my undergraduate from PICT Pune, which is affiliated with Pune University. Then I worked for 2 years in Pune. After which I decided to come like pursue masters in computer science. My undergraduate was in IT, so it was close to CS, and then I got into University of Colorado Boulder. Right now I'm finishing my final semester here. And I interned over the summer with a company called Dataductus. And that's it. So I'm looking for potential job offers at the moment in between jobs right now.
Cool. And Ishita.
Hi everyone. I completed my undergrad from PICT Pune in information technology. Then I worked for 2 years with FinIQ in Pune, and then I completed my master's this December from Arizona State University in computer science. And right now I'm working with Walmart Global Tech in Dallas.
Oh, okay. Cool. So Ishita, you graduated.
Yes, this
Okay.
December.
This
Yeah.
December. And Sarthak, you joined. If I remember, you joined your masters immediately after your bachelor's, or you worked for a year.
No, correct. I graduated in May 21 and started my master's in August right
Okay.
away.
Okay. So almost
Yeah,
immediately. Hmm.
yes.
Cool. So anybody has any questions for these, or I mean, just feel free to anybody at any point. If you have any questions for our guests, just feel free to just turn on your microphones and you can ask your questions. If not, I'll only ask some questions so that because I'm a little curious to understand,
Mm.
especially yeah, Piyusha, you had something?
Yes, yes. I
Yeah, yeah,
have a
Piyusha, go ahead.
question for Yashovardhan. Hey, hi, Yashovardhan. Piyusha here. I heard that you did MIS, right? So in Illinois, Chicago. So that I saw that the course is of only 12 months. So how did you manage? Like the 12 months is a short time, right? So you have to get there, settle, and then look for a job also. Then how did and the course curriculum handle? How did you handle that? All the things in those short period of time.
It's not exactly 12 months. I think it's like 3 or 4 semesters you can decide. So I started in the summer, which to complete my prerequisites. So they have a set of prerequisites, like a set of courses that if you don't have, you have to take these extra prerequisites. If not, you can just do it in 3 semesters. So I don't think it's a 1 year course. I think most students complete in 1.5 year, and I know students who've extended their stay to 2 years, depending on the job situation and things like that. So I'm not sure where you've seen this 12 months system, but I think that's like a bunch of, like in my batch, I think only 1 or 2 people have done in 12 months because they've like got all prerequisites waived. So yeah.
Okay, okay.
Okay. So, what I wanted to ask, I mean, each of you, maybe even Yashwardhan, you can only probably answer that in terms of how easy or difficult was it to, basically start off with your on-campus jobs, or, did you find one, did you do one, RAs, TAs, those kind of positions? And what If did you? I think you worked on. I remember we had a discussion long time back, and you did find a TA or an RA position. If don't know correctly. But yeah, go ahead, Yashwardhan, on that.
Yeah, so initially I got a lab assistant position. So UIC has like multiple departments. We have like two campuses. We also have like a hospital in our campus, which is UI Health. So I started off, I think after a couple of months, I was talking to a friend, and then she apparently was part of like the administrative team at the hospital where she was hiring a lab assistant, which is how I got the position initially. After that, in the coming semesters, I just kept on like applying, cold emailing all professors in the different departments, and then it reached like one professor, which they reached out saying that, okay, great, could you please TA for us in the coming semester? And that's how I started TAing from the lab assistant position, which I initially started from. And the TA does carry a certain percentage of scholarship associated along with the stipend. So, and in UIC, it's a fairly big chunk of the scholarship which is offered. So, yes, I just cold emailed and it worked out. So, I would suggest all future prospective students, and like if like you're looking out for something, just look at the college directory, go like irrespective if it's not in your department, that's fine. They might have some technical skills required for the department, so just reach out. I mean, it's like a 10-minute email, but it could pay off, so just do that. Yep.
How about others? Anyone else? Any experiences in terms of on-campus jobs that you guys did, and how did you go about finding them?
So for my fall 21, that's when I started my master's. I had a grader position on campus. So at CU, they send out a form once you get into the university. About a month before the semester starts, they send out a form which you fill out, saying that you're interested in getting like a grader position or anything like that. Most of those such positions are controlled by the department, so you can apply to other departments, which is a good practice, like Yashwati said. And mostly cold emails generally work because if you're proactive, people appreciate that and they will respond to you, seeing that you're showing interest. So I had a grader position, then I moved on to doing some on-campus job with career services, and after which, over the summer, I got an internship, and I now continue to co-op with them throughout my fall 22, and even now I'm working with them. So like it that you can also do that. I mean, if campus jobs aren't that appealing or you think they don't pay you enough, so you can just do co-ops.
Okay.
But in general, there's a lot of opportunity with campus jobs. There'll be a lot of odd openings. You will not struggle to find a campus job in general, at CU at least. And they pay well. So,
So your campus job, Iravati, didn't come with any tuition waivers or anything. It was just a campus job that paid you by the hour.
yes. So I am enrolled in the professional master's program
Correct.
where I am not eligible to apply for TA or RA. But at CU, if you get into the traditional master's program and you get into a TA, that is equivalent to full tuition waiver, and they pay you a stipend and they pay 90% of your insurance. So you get health insurance, you get stipend, your tuition is waived off. So it's like a
Hmm.
pretty sweet deal at CU if you TA or RA. And it's not, even if you like get into professional masters, you can try to convert into traditional masters if you find a professor who's willing to take you in their research, and then you can apply for your positions. Like, I know people who have done that. I personally did not want to do it, so I didn't do it, but that is an option available. It can be a little challenging, but yeah, you can do that.
Okay. Anybody else? Aditi, you had a.
Uh, yeah, so again, as both of them mentioned, so I joined in the January of 2021. So because I had not completed a semester for to be eligible to apply for internships in May, I could not, college had not permitted us to apply for any internships because of just one semester. But I had taken a course under a professor, and I later reached out to him in the summer asking for any open RA positions or any open research positions available. And so I was doing an RA with him over the summer, and he was conducting a course later in fall. And then because I had worked with him before, he offered the position of a TA with him. So yeah, I almost about the summer and then another couple months. But this definitely helps mailing, and if generally you've reached out, or if the professor knows that you've worked with them before, or through a way you're reaching out, taken the course before, it definitely helps. So if you've taken the course, definitely mail them asking that I've taken this course and I saw an open position. Or if you are offering anything, any other course, I'd be definitely interested in TAing for that. Also, over the next semester, I got another TA-ship with another professor again through a course that I had taken. So that definitely helped. And I did not apply for any internships. I started applying for jobs because I'd already completed 1 year of my master's. So being active and sending out mails and reaching out to professors definitely helps.
Okay. How about the ASU guys? Sarthak, Ishita, how are things at Arizona? Sarthak?
Yeah. So I started with a actual like on-campus job
Mm-hmm.
where it was in food services, where you basically do work, serve food, or help in that stuff. And so I joined in fall semester. I did it for fall and spring, and then I did a summer internship. And later on, since as Aditya mentioned, if I took a subject in my spring semester, I got a good grade in that, and I followed the same pattern. I emailed the professor saying, "Okay, I had a good grade, and if you want, if you can need someone, I can help you with that." And I got a GSA position in my last fall 22 semester, like that. And yeah, so you can start. It's always better if you get a, I think, grader or TA position. But most of the time, since the competition is high, it can happen. You can start in different positions. Uh, there are, at least in at ASU, I know there are multiple non-technical positions also available. Like for event heads or event management positions are there, or food services. There are multiple from Starbucks to different Subway food shops are there, restaurants are there, diners are there. There are multiple openings in that area as well. Yeah, that was my
And
experience.
Ishita, did you do any on-campus job or?
So in my case, all the 3 semesters I worked as a grader. So
Okay.
networking did help me getting a grader job.
Mm-hmm.
I had 2 friends who were enrolled in PhD, so they did help me connecting with different professors, and then I used to apply to those jobs. So I would suggest networking to anyone who is planning with masters.
Okay. And your grader positions came with a partial tuition waiver or it didn't?
So I did receive scholarship, but it was not part of the grader job.
Okay, so that was an additional scholarship. And how about you,
Yeah.
Sarthak?
No. So as far as I know, the graders GSA, they do not receive any tuition waiver.
Okay.
But if you are doing TA or RA, you receive full or partial tuition depending on how many hours you are doing per week.
So in the third semester, you had a TA, right?
No, I had a GSA
Oh,
position
it was a
which is
GSA position.
in
Okay.
between grader and
Okay,
yeah.
okay. Fine, fine. Right. Right. And Ishita, you just mentioned that you should network, and that will help you kind of get those positions that you got. That is the. So can you I mean elaborate on that when you say network? What exactly did you do? I mean, you're talking of networking with current students there who are already studying, or with faculty, or how did you go about that whole process?
Um, I would suggest that connecting with the right people will help you. I mean, you can connect with current students because, for example, if you're connected with current students, they can tell you which courses to take, and they can help you to pursue in terms of your interest. I mean, in my case, I wanted to take some particular courses, so networking with current students did help me in that area.
Okay. Any questions that anybody has basically about? Yeah. So, Soumitra, go ahead and ask.
I wanted to ask, do you apply? Did you guys apply for your TAs, like the cold emails you talked about? Did you apply before starting your first semester, or is this after you get a grade, or like you've done the first semester and then you sort of have an idea that you can do it? Yeah, I just want to know the timeline of like when you actually applied for these and started working on them.
Applied for what exactly? I didn't get you.
For the TA
For the
positions.
TARA or the graduate assistantship positions, he is basically wants to know when
Most
did
of
you
the
start
times,
applying?
you can start applying, approaching professors, talking to people for all of these jobs the moment you accept the admit. You can start telling them that I am an incoming fall 23 student and I would like to work with you. I'm interested in your research, or I am looking for a grader position or a course manager position, depending on which university you're going to. They'll have different kinds of jobs for you. And these are still academic jobs, like someone else in the call mentioned. There will be other jobs which are not academic position, like related to academia. They might be like you might work a store, like at CU there's a bookstore, you can work in the bookstore, you can work in dining, you can work with some other market on campus. So there's like a whole bunch of jobs that you can apply to. And I think most universities have their own job portals where they put up open jobs for you to apply to. So you can start exploring like a bunch of options the moment you accept the admit and you have access to their portals. You don't have to wait for anything. And the sooner you apply, the sooner you get these opportunities. So maybe being proactive generally helps. And like Ishita mentioned, connecting with correct people, approaching people, asking questions, it will always take you ahead. The more actively you do these things, the more benefit you'll get from it.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else has any other anything else to say on that in terms of the timelines?
I think I would like agree with Ravati. Just the minute you have the admit, just start applying cold emailing, going through like the job portals on the for the particular college. I mean, it might also be the case where you might need to like take the course in to TA for that. But in UIC, that's not the case. I know people who, if you have some decent type of experience, they can assign you a TA for the course. And there are on-campus jobs as well on the portal. There's a rec center, there's the bookstore, a bunch of GA positions. If you know, like web dev, database, there are those options as well. But the minute you have an admit, just start cold email from the college directory. Yep.
Oh, one more thing. Also, at CU particularly, you cannot approach professors for TA positions. They are controlled by the university, like the department itself. So they have like a full TA program. So you have to go through some pre-training. You have to then apply, then you interview, then they have rounds where they ask you questions, and you have to do some video round. So it's different.
Okay.
I think it's same at ASU as well. There is a portal where there's a form which you fill out for TA positions. You can still approach the professors for grader and GSA positions, but for TA, the TA is controlled by department. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I just wanted to follow up. Um, at least like if I'm doing cold emails, what did you write? Did you just in the email itself? Do you just say that I'm interested? Like, did you have any credentials that you provided in terms of like I don't know, I had so and so a GPA or like experience, or do you just have to be I'm interested?
I generally attached my resume along with it, so they just know what my who I am. You mention your GPA and your creds on your resume. You'll have some amount of work experience, some project, something. So just that much.
I mean, it's just like applying for a job, right? So anything that has additional information is not going to like hurt your application. So if you are applying for web dev, your resume cover letter should have something related to web dev. If you're applying for like database, like you should have some relevant experience so that you are the best candidate. So just give your credentials because giving your GPA is not going to hurt your application. So the more information you give, the more like it's the better it is for your application. So, yeah.
And most of the times, because you're still students, they're very forgiving with respect to how they look at your resume, how they consider you as an applicant. They'll interview you just because you applied.
I would also suggest if you're applying for a TA, maybe give that you were an undergraduate assistant as well. Used to teach physics. Used to help out a teacher teaching physics in your 10th, 12th. Even if you haven't, I'm not suggesting, but if you have any experience, if you have some experience in the domain, just put it out there that you have helped people. So it helps. You just need an interview. So yeah.
Anybody else? Any more questions on this, or anything that Ishita, Sarthak, Aditi would like to add?
I think it would also help if you look up, like at least at UMass Amherst, what I was told that uh, we can directly mail professors with maybe their work or attaching the resume, but along with that, also like maybe going through what they are working on currently, if it's like a research position that we want to talk about or want to help, like want to assist them with. We can definitely mention that in the email as well, that this is so and so that has particularly caught my attention, and any course that you have taken or worked in that field before, anything which might you think might interest them or like help them understand your profile a little better. So also going through the profile of or what they are currently working in, and then aligning that mail according to what they are currently doing, that also would help.
Okay.
I will also suggest that if you are getting into academic positions, grader, TA, anything, try to get in earlier semesters because professors don't like to change those positions. So if you got it in your first semester itself, there is high chance that it will continue till end of your academics. So
Okay.
try to get it early as possible.
Mhm. Any other questions related to campus jobs, RAs, TAs? I mean, if you have any questions that come, you can just if your microphones are not working or you don't want to talk, you can just put it on the chat box. I think we can take questions there as well. So moving on, one of the most, of course, on-campus jobs are important, but one of the most important things that are more of internships and then your full-time job search. So, how has been your experience? In fact, all of you had some internship that you worked on, except Aditi, because Aditi she went in spring and ideally she could not do an internship. She was not allowed to do an internship in summer. But other than that, the four of you, how did your internship search happen? I mean, how what did you do and how did you pack that internship? Something on that. Yeah, anybody can go. Yeah, sure. Then you can start.
Yes, I would suggest start early as possible. I think the bigger firms have an earliest like cutoff date when they end applications. I mean, most of them have like a batch where they just like take all the internship applications initially, probably as early as November, December. Then there's a short period in during December where the full US shuts down. during the holiday time, and then all those applications are reviewed starting Jan onwards. So I would say getting your applications as early as possible. Obviously, be very thorough with your application when you're applying to these positions. So you should not like haphazardly send it out, but try to send it out as early as possible. But if it does tend to like slow down, that's fine. Jan, Feb, March is also a good time to apply as you go forward for the year. A lot of my friends have gotten like internship offers as late as June, July, and they've interned for the next couple of months for the summer. So it's not too late. If by chance you don't get an internship towards those last months, you will feel like I should stop applying and probably start applying full time. I would say have a balance in applying to like full time and internship if you're like in the middle stage, but don't give up on the internship opportunities. I got mine in Feb when I interned for a bunch of. I mean, I applied for a bunch of companies and interviewed with a couple, and then my EY interview got converted to an internship offer. After which I was relatively freer from March, April till my internship started in June. So I would say start early and apply throughout. Don't stop applying. And in this current scenario, I think it would be slightly easier to get internships than full time offers because companies more likely want to um, hire talented staff at a relatively lower rate than a full-time staff, and hopefully if you are a promising candidate, convert you maybe next year or next year, because EY does that. So EY hires interns, and these jobs are not necessarily for immediate 6, 7, 8, 10 months down the line. But I know, like in my batch, there were interns who were offered because they're graduating 2 years down the line. Their offers start in 2024 and 2025. So yeah, just start out, and I think internships have a good chance of getting converted. So yeah.
So, one question: when you said apply, where did you, how did you go about applying? I mean, was it more of just randomly on job sites, or did how important was UIC in this whole picture, or the UIC career services, or their job fairs, or
So I mean, every college, irrespective, has their own career center. So you should go to the career center to like have your resume reviewed for internships as well. Now, the career center might not necessarily be for your domain specific. So I would say get a balance of a of a resume review from professors in your department and the career center, and like get a bridge of like that resume, and that resume is what you should send out. So the career services does play an important role because they are actively trying to get people and companies to the college. That's the USP. But you don't necessarily have to depend on them. It's not like in India where a bunch of companies are coming to campus just to hire you. You have to go out and find the company. So there might be 2 or 3 or 4, 5 career fairs during the year, but apart from that, I would suggest go through LinkedIn, go through Glassdoor, go through Fishbowl, go through all these different sites and find companies, or just Google top Fortune 500 companies. Get the full list, download it. I know a friend of mine who's downloaded the full list and gone through each and just applied. So after having it, the first step is, for example, do your resume, get it thorough. Once the resume is ready, move on to like a list of companies and then start applying. Yeah.
okay. Any how has been your experience, Ishita?
So as soon as I landed in USA, I prepared my resume, and then I got it reviewed from at least 10 people. And every time I used to make changes. I mean, it was every time each version of my resume was a better version. And then I also got it reviewed from the career services at ASU. And then I started applying to internships in September. And like the companies which are actively hiring, so I used to apply to those companies. I used to apply using LinkedIn and Handshake. And I think by November I got my internship at Walmart.
At Walmart, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, where was your internship? I mean, which state?
It was in Dallas,
Oh, it
Texas.
was in Dallas. Okay. So even the
Yeah.
internship was in Dallas. Fine.
Yeah.
Great. And how about you, Sarthak?
Um, so I started little late for I started applying in December. So I waited a bit to add my projects in my resume. Since I continued directly from my undergrad, I did not have a very strong resume as I wanted. So I waited few months to add those my master's projects as well.
Okay.
And yeah, I started applying for December using LinkedIn Handshake, even Indeed. So there are so many job portals are available, or you can directly apply. As I think Yashwardhan said, you can just go to company's website and go to their career portal. You
Mm-hmm.
can find job roles there. I did those. I even asked few guys, few seniors or company guys or ASU seniors for referrals. Even for internships, referrals do work. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely connect with people on LinkedIn and ask for referrals, get their help or get their suggestions. And yeah, like that, I also landed few interviews and I got my internship in February, like offer in February at Max Linear, and I started from May.
And where was your
Yes.
internship in? Which city was it?
Uh, it was in California, in
Okay.
San Diego.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Fine. And Iravati?
So I think Yashwardhan mentioned that most major companies have a timeline after which they don't look at your resume, or some most of them have like a rolling process where the sooner you apply, the sooner you get an interview, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I put in applications for most major companies. I started in August, but I wasn't too serious in August. So I knew that if I apply to, say, for example, Amazon and Facebook and such in August, I have a bigger chance of getting an interview. So I did that first, and after that, I slowed down a little and I picked up in October, and I applied using LinkedIn for a long time.
Okay.
But and also I used to attend CU's career fairs. I got my internship through CU's career fair, which is
Okay.
kind of rare, honestly,
Mm-hmm.
but it worked out that way for me. But
Okay.
I would by the end of it, I was applying over LinkedIn, Indeed, Glassdoor, and so I would suggest that you keep doing that, and you would want to keep updating your resume as you go ahead. Also, if there are some job profiles that you really, really want to get into, you might want to tailor your resume to look like the job requirements. So, for example, if they want certain technology and you have worked on certain projects in that technology, so throw them in your resume. Some different company might want to look at something else. So, you might want to switch up what you've written in your resume based on where you're applying. There will be, you can have one generic resume that you use for many other applications, because sometimes it is a game of numbers and you need to apply a lot so that you get decent number of callbacks.
So, in general, how many did you? So, between just when you said it's a game of numbers, right? So, I'm just curious. I mean, of course, you may not have a count of how many you applied to, but in general, how many replies did you get, and how many interviews did you give, and how many converted? So, was it like?
So I think I applied to like 100-ish companies, which is less, I think. I know people who apply to like 300, 400 places and then they get like 10, 15 callbacks.
Mm-hmm.
I got back four callbacks, of which two converted, and I chose the one I work at because I did not want to move away from Colorado. So I live in Colorado right now, and because none of these positions were in cities I wanted to work in, I
Okay.
chose to stay here. And I worked, so I stayed here in the summer, which worked out for me. I mean, you can choose to move or stay, like depending on what your personal preference is.
Mm-hmm.
But because it was not in a city where I wanted to go to, I chose to stay here.
Okay. And Yashovardhan, your internship, you are still in Chicago, right?
Yes, I'm in Chicago. So, okay, just before moving forward, I just want to say, the LinkedIn Easy Apply button is a very easy button to click for applying to like positions. It might work, but I would just take the extra step in going to the company's portal, finding that same position, applying directly. It's one extra step, but it might just help out. And even though I saw a position on LinkedIn, I just directly went to the company's portal and applied. That's how I did EY's. EY's is slightly little confusing website to maneuver, I have to be honest, but it did work out. I applied for more than like 300 positions and got like a zero point 0.5 to 1% conversion rate to interviews. And I think one of them got converted, so I got really lucky. But yeah, that's how mine. Yeah.
And how about you, Ishita?
I missed that. What was the
So no, I mean,
question?
how many places did you apply to, and how many interviews did you get in before the Dallas, the Walmart thing got converted?
So my Walmart internship was my first interview, and it was like
Okay,
the first internship I got. Then after that, I used to apply. So around February or March, I got Goldman Sachs offer also, which was in Dallas,
okay,
and I think I applied to 200 internships.
okay. But then, I mean, what made you choose Walmart over Goldman Sachs?
First of all, the job title itself. So at Walmart, I did not get the new grad position, and I I also like the work culture at Walmart, so I chose that.
Okay. And Sarthak, since you said you started a little late in the whole process for your internship search, so did you, I mean, how did you get this internship? It was more like applying like the others did, or how, or did ASU's job fairs, career centers help you get this?
So I applied through all the portals, but it was a referral that actually got. So I got applied around 100-ish places. I got three interviews, but so other two I got through the regular process, but they did not convert.
Okay,
This particular one with Max Linear, I got it through a referral, and yeah, it got converted.
okay. And in your case, Sarthak, is there a possibility of you joining there full time, or that is something that is not, that's still undecided?
So it is actually more of a what to say recession story. I got the offer from them in October,
Okay,
but 2 weeks ago I got called that they cancelled my offer.
okay,
So it was more of a industry situation. Yeah, but they convert. I think most of the companies do convert.
okay. So it did convert in your case, but then it was recalled after that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how, I mean, now since how much of that is happening now in at least with your friends, or is that a very common scenario that offers are getting called back, or because of the recession thing, or is it more not a very common thing?
Oh,
It has become
at
pretty
least
common,
I
honestly.
know many people who got affected by this, whose joining got delayed or offer got completely rescinded because of this. And this is something which is happening from like last few months. I think from
Hmm.
last August, September only it started, and
Mm-hmm.
till now it's happening.
Yeah. I mean, I know a lot of
Um,
people who
It's
got affected because of Amazon did that. So there were a few big companies who did this, but in general, even the smaller, medium companies are also, I mean, calling back. I mean, canceling offers.
I have an
yeah. So
offer right now. So, I mean, it depends on which company you're working for. My company is willing to convert mine to full time.
Okay,
But I think most big companies have rescinded offers. Mid-scale companies are hiring, but I
okay,
think the number is less right now.
okay. And anything, any questions from everybody? Is nobody has any questions apart from? I thought I would be silent in this whole session, and most of the questions would come from you guys, from the attendees. But
Hey, hi Jay. I had a
yeah, hi
question.
Sumit.
Yeah, so this is for the guys who are at ASU. So, does ASU have a co-op program like similar to NEU, or the internships are like during the summer semester or between the fall and the spring semester, somewhere during that time.
Yeah, so I can say it for at least for computer science, internships, summer internships, you can do anywhere you want, and for 3 months, it's no issue. For co-op programs, the internship has to be a remote internship. You can still do a co-op, no issue, but it has to be a remote opportunity, or it has to be in Phoenix. You cannot get out of Phoenix to do your internship. And you can, I think you can only do, so you can do at max two internships. So if you did a summer internship and then you converted to co-op, so two internships. You cannot do a third internship in the spring or your last semester.
Okay. And like the combined duration of those two internships, like is there a restriction on that?
Yeah, I think it's the same for everything. It's less than 11 months. If you
Okay.
do more than 11 months, I think it goes to those days are subtracted from your OPT.
Okay, got
So
No,
it.
this is
okay.
internship is CPT.
No, no. So I'll just clarify on that, and that's a very funny thing actually. The US rule works a little different there. So they say that see your internship happens on a CPT, uh, and your full-time job employment that you get after you graduate is your OPT. Now the rule says that you can, if your CPT happens to be more than 11 months, right? So then they will cancel your OPT. So then they'll say that you have used your, if you do 12 months of CPT, that is, you do your internship and then co op, and that extends to 12 months, then you will not be eligible for the OPT because they somehow feel that you have already used that 1 year period which you are supposed to get after graduation. So you get zero OPT then. So, of course, your international students office will tell you this before, in case you decide to continue your CPT for more than 11 months, they'll warn you about it that you will not be eligible for the OPT. But as long as you keep it to 11 months, you can still apply for a full 12-month OPT. But the moment you cross that 11 month, then and start your CPT on and do a 12-month CPT, then they say that you will not get anything for your OPT. So that is the case with all US universities. So yes, your OPT, your internship period cannot be more than 11 months. I mean, it can be, but then you will not be eligible for an OPT, and then you will have to just return back to India after you graduate.
Um, yeah, you are correct, Jay, with this. But I think the workaround for this, at least at ACR, found was if you want to do a third internship or more than 11 months, they get you something called as pre-OPT, which is
Yes,
basically you're using OPT before graduating. So that starts your 1 year of OPT before graduating if you
right.
really want to continue the internship.
Yes, but then that also has to be in your graduating semester. Then that has to be your graduating semester, if I'm correct on that. So you can't use
Um,
pre-OPT for 2 semesters, if I'm not wrong. I'm not very sure on that, but if that's what I feel is the rule.
Yeah, correct. So normally a student coming in fall will start internship in summer.
Summer, right?
So can use CPT for summer and next fall semester.
Correct, correct.
And if they want to continue internship in the last semester,
Huh.
they can do it either with extending CPT or in ASU case, I think pre-OPT is the option.
Correct, right, right. Hmm. Okay. So, any further questions on the internships or anything else that? So, how was your? Yeah, yeah, Soumitra. I think the only both Saumitras are asking questions. Go ahead, Soumitra. Yeah, no issue.
Um, I was just asking that I know some people who went last year, and from what I've heard, that they haven't, but other people they had applied for internships before they even landed in the US. Is this recommended? Is this what you guys would have done if you could have? And Like, is it a bad idea to apply during that timeline? Because as someone said, I think there's a timeline when they actually look at the resumes. So is it too early instead to actually apply then? Yeah, I was just curious if this is a good idea in the first place at all.
I believe the sooner the better, really. But the sooner you start, the sooner you get a grip of what kind of resume you should have and how many hits your resume is getting, because most of these resumes get put through an ATS system. So you might want to have a resume that gets picked by the ATS. And landing an internship is like a matter of chance, in my opinion. And if you apply sooner, you might get it sooner. If you apply later, you might get it even then. So it's really whenever you start is fine, I guess. And if you, I personally would want to start applying before I move to the US, but it might be complicated because you're juggling other set of things that you need to finish before coming to the country. So you might not really find time. So it's okay if you don't start before. It's okay. It's not ideal, but it's good if you can.
I would also suggest, I mean, yeah, sooner is like always better, but at the same time, you should be like confident in the application you're sending out. So if you think that you get an edge by coming here and talking to people out here, um, it helps. So if you know how, if you already have, if you're already in contact with like seniors and stuff from India that could help you with this, it's good. But it's not gonna hurt if you wait that one extra month. If the deadline is, if there's time for the deadline, if you come here, come on campus, see what needs to be done. Like, you might just get a better feel of the applications going out if you talk to more peers or more seniors out here on campus. But apart from that, yeah, you could theoretically apply from India. It shouldn't change, other than the edge that you get by talking to people out here for the application that you send out.
Uh, so I guess one question I wanted to ask, actually, especially all of you. Like, I think Sarthak went to the US fresh from college, whereas I think all of you had worked in India for a year or two before you actually started your masters. So how does that experience, the Indian work experience, does it work in your favor? Is it a big advantage? Sarthak, did you find any? Because I'm sure you must have, your classmates who would be having some 2 or 3 years of experience. So did you find that you were at a disadvantaged position in that case?
Um, I definitely experience helps. So, few even internship roles also require you to have experience in those fields sometimes.
Okay.
So, it definitely reduces the or what to say. Yeah, it reduces the companies you can apply or roles you can apply. But it's not the worst, or it's not like you'll not get anything, or your options will be completely closed. But yeah, if you have experience, that definitely helps. Even for internships, for landing a full-time job, even 1 year of experience matters a lot. Yeah.
So in general, just on a statistical level, what percentage of your classmates were freshers and with experience in all your cases, especially? I know for Ishita, I think your program prefers people with experience. You went for the professional program in computer science. No, sorry, not Ishita, Iravati. But with the others, how has been your experience in terms of your classmate strengths? How many came as fresh from college and how many with experience?
Mm, My program also does not have a lot of requirement with respect to having work experience to get into the program. But the trend that I observed was, so I applied to both traditional and professional masters.
Okay.
But this is my observation. Do not believe this, but I observed this, that most people with experience and not a lot of like research credentials got put into the professional master's program because they thought, I don't know what they thought, but that happened.
Okay.
But I know people who got into the research master's program regardless of experience. So I
Okay.
don't think experience has a lot to play with it. I think some other metric has to play with getting into this master's program or the traditional master's program.
Okay. But in your class, you felt that most of your classmates were had experience, or
Yeah, I mean, because of COVID in general, most people who
yes.
got into my master's program are with experience.
Okay. Hmm. And how about the others? How are things at ASU and Amherst and UIC?
I would say at UIC is more or less similar. There is uh, like both. I think a small percentage, probably 5 or 10% of the batch that has more than 5 plus years of experience. Other than that, I think majority has um, 0 to 2 years of experience. So there are freshers as well, and there are people with 2 to 3 years of experience. In terms of jobs, I think so. The three categories most job postings have. So that's either 0 to 1, 1 to 3, and 3 plus years of experience. Or and the for like seniority roles, you get like 5 plus. So I think the sweet spot is the 2 to 2 years of experience, or probably less than that, because if you do a couple of internships, you will be categorized in the 0 to 1. So I would suggest a couple of internships always play a part, because your resume essentially doesn't have only projects. So if you do have internships, it shows some kind of work experience that you have in the corporate world, apart from academic work and things like that. So internships do help. I've had a couple, and then to be honest, the previous one has always helped me get the next one. So I've just piggybacked on the first one which I got, and it's always helped me in the future. So yeah.
Mhm. Okay. And how are things at ASU? I mean, in terms of your class size, uh, how is the batch kind of thing? It's more of people with experience, or is it like a mix?
Uh, it was mix, and it was mostly, if they have experience, it was mostly because of COVID. And
Okay.
there were few people who had three or not few, 20% or something students with 3 plus years of experience as well. But yeah, most of them, if they had experience, it was due to COVID, like 1 year or 2 year of experiences like that.
Mm-hmm. And at Amherst, Aditi?
So the spring batch really did not have a lot of deferrals. Most of them had either deferred to fall. So my batch strength was smaller like that. But I think what I observed is it's very specific to maybe the program that you're enrolling in as well. Now I had an experience with Accenture, but I was applying to all roles with embedded systems. So that experience didn't really count or matter a lot because I was not entirely maybe, but kind of changing the domain. But I know of friends who have worked in India for like 2 3 years and then they came here for masters and had much better offers or maybe quicker offers. I would say again that was a different stream with VHDL Verilog. So I think maybe there are some streams particular like that which might need more experience. But I did not see that with embedded. It's good if you have experience, but like clearing the interviews would be mostly with the projects that you've done or by kind of being thorough with what the company does and your knowledge in the subject. So
Okay.
yeah.
And again, any tips on your full-time job searches that you can give? What has worked, what didn't work, or what you thought would work, and many any new insights that you gained, or it's again more of you keep applying and hope for the best kind of thing. So at least for those,
Definite.
yeah, Sarthak, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yeah, definitely get LinkedIn Premium. That helps a lot. That gives a lot of options to message recruiters or email them directly, connect with them. and it has a lot of features. Definitely, when you're searching for full times or even for internships, I did not use it for internship, but for full time, I'm using it now, and it definitely gives you more options.
There is some amount of strength in gaining referrals in general. So you might want to uh, have some amount of connect with alumni or people from the industry who can refer you, or like Satak said, speaking to recruiters directly. All of these strategies generally work, but I personally don't have a lot of experience with gaining interviews because of this recession right now. So most places that I would want to work with are not hiring. So referrals are not working, recruiters will not respond. So it's like a challenge right now.
And how about Aditi? How did you get your job? Because you didn't do an internship, and this was like a job that you got
Um,
directly.
Yeah, so at that time I was applying for internships and jobs, and I stopped applying for internships because I was not getting any callbacks. So I directly started applying for jobs around December.
Mm-hmm.
What I found helpful was to keep applying throughout that entire period. It's going to be challenging, stressful, but at the end, I think also if you apply, if you keep on applying, you are constantly in touch with the content that will be asked for during your interviews. So like with me, if for example was more related to coding, I have to be thorough with it. I have to keep on kind of practicing it. There's a certain pattern or a set of like questions um, which you really should be thorough at. So maybe making notes helps, so that before your interview you can go through it. And I think after a certain point, it kind of it becomes easier because you're more confident. The first couple of interviews were bad because I was not confident enough, and obviously I was scared. This happens with everyone, I would say. But I think just keep on applying, and that eventually helps you get better. So that did help. Also, with internships, I would like to mention that, as I think Yashovardhan pointed out, that keeping on applying till the very end really helps. So I got one around end of March, but I also had like a job offer, so I opted for that, and I just had one subject to take, so I could finish that subject and join my job. But really, sometimes they'll send it out as late as the towards the end of the semester. But that's going to be about it. Keep on applying till like the very end.
Okay. How many interviews did you actually get, and before you converted this one?
So I would say maybe uh, okay, can't really recollect, but five, somewhere between 5 to 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm. And how about others? Any experiences in terms of sure? Then did you interview at anywhere else, or was it like once you got the EY offer, converted it to full time?
Yeah, so once I had the EY offer, essentially I wanted to only apply to companies which were either EY or like EY level or better.
Mm-hmm.
So that narrowed down my list a lot. But because of the recession, a lot of those companies had frozen hires irrespective. So I had a very small reference set to go with, and I think EY just was the best option for me, and I just went with that. But I would also suggest, like I've seen my friends in the same job process where some of the internships did get converted, some didn't. I
Okay.
know a company that they intern with where they didn't sponsor, don't sponsor H1B, so you just continue applying. But at the same time, I think Aditi, what she's saying is very important, where even though you're applying maybe 10, 15, 20 positions per day, you cannot leave out the interview prep,
Hmm.
because out of that 100 applications, the 1%, the one which gets converted to an interview, you need to crack. So do whatever you need to for like normal conversations, or like your behavioral, your quant, or your lead code for database, or like in case of SDs, your coding. You need to have that down, because The only thing you can control is these steps. The getting picked for the interview is up to them.
Mhm. And just a follow up on that, I mean, not only to the two of you, but others also. How important is your location? Because I know, Yashwardhan, you are at least in Chicago, but for others, did the location to a certain extent matter? Was it a disadvantage of not being in a big city? Yes, Iravati.
So Boulder itself,
Uh-huh.
there is the Denver metropolitan area in general has some amount of software companies,
Okay.
like a decent number. So you can apply it. So I work in Longmont, which is a neighboring city to Boulder,
Okay.
and so places around Boulder offer jobs.
Mm-hmm.
But in my opinion, I think unless you are from like the colleges that people consider to be premium, you stand pretty much the same chances as everyone else that you're applying with. Location has a small role to play as compared to your own credentials, how relevant your resume is, how good your work experience is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that will matter more as compared to where you are in general. That's my opinion. I mean, someone else might say something else based on their experience.
I mean, Aditi, at least in your case, you had to move from the East Coast to the West Coast for your job.
Y- Yeah, but that really was not a problem. So usually they are very flexible with it. They'll know your location, and at the start of the interview, or like maybe towards the HR round, they ask about if you're open for relocation. And I think that's the extent of it. At least what I found, that it never really was a problem moving from the East Coast to the West Coast.
Okay. And how about, I mean, the Arizona guys?
Uh, I think so few companies, if they have office near your campus, I know there are some Intel, for example, or other electrical companies are near Tempe.
Mm-hmm.
So the your chances, I don't see the increase, but I know a lot of my electrical friends who got there. I don't know, it was just because they are nearby location.
Okay.
For me, I moved to California, San Diego. So for me, I did not have any issue because of location.
Okay.
But can if there are companies nearby, I think that helps only.
Okay. And how about Ikshita? How was your experience in, I mean, did you feel that the location was a problem or?
So in my case, I did not find the location was problem, but I have seen people who have struggled because of location. So there's a friend lost who lost his chance at a internship opportunity because of location, because the company was located in California and they weren't ready to sponsor for relocation. So I guess location is really important.
Okay. So, I mean, they were not ready to pay for the relocation or was that,
I mean, yeah, they weren't ready to pay for relocation.
okay.
They wanted someone who was in.
Ikshita, I think your mic is, you're muted.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, that's
Um,
fine.
yeah, I said that relocation. So they weren't ready to give relocation, and so they wanted someone who was in California or whose university is in California.
Okay.
So they don't have to give relocation.
Mm-hmm.
So I think location is really important. Like the place where you are staying, I think it's important.
Okay. And I think here someone has, I think Soumitra has posted how big was your class size in terms of, I think Iravati and Ishita have answered. But Yashovardhan, how big was your class size at at UIC for the MIS program?
So my batch was essentially like 120, but
Okay.
each class that we, so it's a selective based class that you can choose which course you're doing for the semester.
Hmm.
Most classes end up happening like either 60 to 90 students per
Okay.
class.
But your batch size basically, I think you meant batch size. So was around 120. And Aditi, how?
Yes.
So I think for the entire of masters, it was about 100 students.
Okay. When
Yeah,
this
for
was for the
EC.
EC part, right?
Yeah, this was the entire EC department. Yeah.
Okay. So any other questions that you guys have? It's been more than an hour. So
Hi,
any
Jay.
yeah, yeah,
So,
So
Bhavik.
I have a question. Like you said, the restriction about 11 months of internship, does it also include part-time internship? Because I believe some people do their full-time summer internship and then they work in the rest of the fall semester part-time with the same company. So is that also included in those 11 months?
Yes, it is included in the 11 months. I think what I think Iravati is doing the same thing, right? She is doing a co-op program now, which is like
Yes, uh, I think as far as I have understood, I may be wrong, honestly. I'm still getting confirmation on this.
hmm.
But part-time internships don't deduct from your CPT clock. Full-time work does. So anything above 20 hours will deduct from your CPT clock. I
So
might be wrong. I'll
no,
reconfirm
no,
with you, Jeff,
you're
if I
right there.
find
But so
out.
you okay? So you're doing an internship which is less than 20 hours currently.
No, I'm working 20 hours.
Okay, so you're working 20. Yes, right.
I'm working 20 hours. I am allowed to work up to 40 hours, but then, yeah,
Correct,
11
correct,
months
correct.
you have to
Yeah,
be. And
right.
then
So
after that, they will only tell you don't work, or else we'll start deducting from pre-completion
com-
OPT.
OPT, yes, right. So yeah, so see what happens is in some cases, like especially I think someone asked the question about Northeastern University, they and many other universities also, or even I think Sarthak said that if the company is in Arizona, you can do that, where you are allowed to, where the university allows you to do a full time work during the next semester also, and take courses in the evening or do part time courses. So in that case, it gets counted against your CPT. The CPT is counted against full-time employment. But what Iravati is doing is part-time internship, and like I think your question was also more related to part-time internship. So I think part-time internships don't count against your total CPT time.
In UIC, it's I think it's included because a friend of mine, like he some in the summer he worked for the same company.
Uh,
Um, and during the fall semester, like he was continuing internship as a co-op,
okay.
which is 20 hours, but they consider it part of CPT as itself.
Oh, okay. Hmm.
Most of the times, all of these roles are specific to the university. So you can speak to their international student services to find out what exactly their terms are for their international students. It might fluctuate with respect to different universities. Some universities allow for you to work remote internships. So, for example, ASU people said that they need to have a co-op in Phoenix, but CU allows you to work a co-op as long as it's in Colorado.
Okay.
You have to be in state and you have to be enrolled in person and you have to show up to class. Basically, that's the requirement.
Okay. Yeah. I think Atisha, you also had some questions.
yes, sir, I had one question. So, like, I'm currently doing an research internship at Cornell. But I'm not sure if they can because not exactly at Cornell. There is a PhD and a PhD advisor there who needed a person to write some machine learning code for him. So I've been writing that code for him for around 2 months, and it's going to complete now. So I asked him for the certificate. So he said because I'm doing personal work for him, so he might not be able to give me a certificate with any Cornell letterhead. So can I write this in my resume or is this irrelevant, like for any role afterwards? Because I can't get a certificate with Cornell letterhead.
That's okay. You can always put it on your resume. And if it's code, it will be on someone's GitHub. You can link that and show that as relevant experience that you've done. you can show your commits to people that I've committed this code here. This is Cornell's repository. Such things you
I
don't
mean, it's
need
my own
letter.
GitHub repository because there are just three people there. One of his PhD students, me, and him. So I've made the Cornell repository and I show him the code. So it's kind of a
Yes, so
personal
you
project
can
for him.
add your LinkedIn. That's enough proof. You don't need like formal written information to show that you worked for Cornell or something. That's not required.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, if there are no other questions, then maybe we'll end today's session. Any last question? Otherwise, we'll end it now. Okay. So if you have, I think since nobody has any further questions, I think we'll end today's session. Thank you, Aditi, Sarthak, Iravati, Ishita, and Yashovardhan for joining. Um, if there are any questions that you have for these people, maybe after, maybe you can just, I think they are all there on LinkedIn. You can connect with them. You can connect with me on LinkedIn first, and then I think that will be easy for you to find them. Or you can just send me the questions if you have something, and I'll, if you guys are okay, I'll share your contact with them, with whoever has any specific questions for you. Okay, thanks for joining. And
Thank you, sir.
yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And good night to you guys.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Nice.